Je voudrais du soleil vert, des dentelles et des théâtres, des photos de bord de mer, dans mon jardin d'hiver. Je voudrais de la lumière, comme en Nouvelle-Angleterre. Je veux changer d'atmosphère, dans mon jardin d'hiver. Ma fleur, sous la pluie de novembre, tes mains qui courent, je n'en peux plus de t'attendre. Les années passent, qu'il est loin, là je tombe. Nul ne peut nous entendre. Je voudrais du Fred Astaire, revoir un latte.
That a shutdown is not worth anything, and that you should not have a Trump shutdown. You have the White House, the Trump shutdown. You have the White House. You have the Senate. You have the House of Representatives. You have the votes. You should pass it.
No, we don't have the votes, Nancy, because in the Senate we need 60 votes.
No, but in the House,
and we don't
you
have.
could bring it up right now.
Yeah, but I can't. Excuse me, but I can't get it passed in the House if it's not going to pass in the Senate. I don't want to waste time.
Well, the fact is, you can get it started that way.
The House we can get passed very easily,
okay,
and we do.
But
the problem is the Senate, because we need 10 Democrats to vote, and they won't vote.
That's not the point, Mr. President. The point is that there are equities to be weighed. And we're here to have a conversation in a prayerful way, so I don't think we should have a debate in front of the press on this. But the fact is, the House Republicans could bring up this bill, if they had the votes, immediately and set the tone for what you want.
If we thought we were going to get it passed in the Senate, Nancy, we would do it immediately. We'd get it passed very easily in the House.
No,
we would get it, Nancy, I'd have it passed in 2 seconds. It doesn't matter, though, because we can't get it passed in the Senate because we need 10 Democrat votes.
Well,
that's the problem.
Again, let us have our conversation, and then we can meet with the press again. But the fact is that legislating, which is what we do, you begin, you make your point, you state your case. The House Republicans could do if they had the votes. But there are no votes in the House, a majority of votes, for a wall, no matter where you start.
Exactly right. You don't have
if I needed the votes for the wall in the House, I would have them in one session. Would be done.
Go do it.
It doesn't help because we need 10 Democrats in the Senate.
Don't put it on the Senate. Put it on the negotiation.
Okay, let me ask you this. And we're doing this in a very friendly manner. It doesn't help for me to take a vote in the House where I will win easily with the Republicans.
You will not win.
It doesn't help to take that vote because I'm not going to get the vote of the Senate. I need 10 senators. That's the problem.
You have the White House. You have the Senate.
I have the White House. The White House is done. And the House would give me the vote if I wanted it. But I can't because I need, Nancy, I need 10 votes from Chuck.
All right, let me say something here.
Let me just say one thing. The fact is, we do not have the votes in the House.
Nancy, I do. And we need border security. Nancy, we need border security. It's very simple.
Of course we do.
We need border security. People are pouring into our country, including terrorists. We have terrorists. We caught 10 terrorists over the last very short period of time. 10. These are very serious people. Our border agents, all of our law enforcement has been incredible what they've done. But we caught 10 terrorists. These are people that were looking to do harm. We need the wall. We need, more important than anything, we need border security, of which the wall is just a piece. But it's important. Chuck, did you want to say something?
Yeah, here's what I want to say. We have a lot of disagreements here. The Washington Post today gave you a whole lot of Pinocchios because they say you constantly misstate how much the wall is built, how much of the wall is built, and how much is there. But that's not the point here. We have a disagreement about the wall, whether it's effective or whatever. Not on border security, but on the wall. We do not want to shut down the government. You have called 20 times to shut down the government. You say, I want to shut down the government. We don't. We want to come to an agreement. If we can't come to an agreement, we have solutions that will pass the House and Senate right now shut down the government, and that's what we're urging you to do. Not threaten to shut down the government because let me just finish, because you can't get your way.
The last time you shut it down, you got killed.
Let me say something, Mr. President. You just say my way or we'll shut down the government. We have a proposal that Democrats and Republicans will support to do a CR that will not shut down the government. We urge you to take it.
And if it's not good border security, I won't take it.
It is very good border security.
And if it's not good border security, I won't take it.
It's what the
Because when you look at these numbers of the effectiveness of our border security, and when you look at the job that we're doing with our military...
You just said it is effective.
Can I tell you something?
Yeah, you just said
Without
it's effective.
a wall, these are only areas where you have the walls.
We want to do
where
this.
you have walls, Chuck, it's effective. Where you don't have walls, it is not effective.
Yeah.
Let's call a halt to this. We've come in here as the first branch of government, Article 1, the legislative branch. We're coming in good faith to negotiate with you about how we can keep the government
open.
We're going to keep it open if we have border security. If we don't have border security, Chuck, we're not going to keep it open.
I'm with you. We are going to have border security.
And it's the same border. You're bragging about what has been done.
By us.
We want to do the same thing we did last year, this year. That's our proposal. If it's good then, it's good now, and it won't shut down the government.
Chuck, we can build a much bigger section with more money.
Let's debate in private. Okay? Yeah, let's debate in private.
That is devoid, frankly, of fact, and we can...
We need border security. I think we all agree that we need border security.
Yes,
is that
we
right?
do.
Good.
We do.
See? We get along. Thank you, everybody.
You say border security and the wall. Can you have border security without the wall?
You need the wall. The wall is a part of border security.
What it means to have border security.
Yeah, yes. We need border security. The wall is a part of border security. You can't have very good border security without the wall.
That's absolutely not true. That is a political promise. Border security is a way to effectively honor our responsibility.
And the experts say you can do border security without a wall, which is wasteful and doesn't solve the problem.
It totally solves the problem.
I don't want to take this.
And it's very important.
This has spiraled downward when we came at a place to say, how do we meet the needs of American people who have needs? The economy has, people are losing their jobs, the market's in a mood. Our members are already...
Well, we have the lowest unemployment that we've had in 50 years.
60 people of the Republican Party are losing their offices now because of the transition. People are not... The morale
and we've gained in the Senate.
Up.
Nancy, we've gained in the Senate. Excuse me, did we win the Senate? We won the Senate.
When the president brags that he won North Dakota and Indiana, he's in real trouble.
I did.
Let me say this.
We did win North Dakota.
This is the most unfortunate thing. We came in here in good faith, and we're entering into this kind of a discussion in the public view.
But it's not bad, Nancy.
No.
It's called transparency.
I know. It's not transparency when we're not stipulating to a set of facts, and when we wanted to have a debate with you about saying we confront some of those facts.
You know what? We need border security. That's what we're going to be talking about, border security. If we don't have border security, we'll shut down the government. This country needs border security. The wall is a part of border security. Let's have a talk. We're going to get the wall built, and we've done a lot of wall already.
How big a part of border security is the wall?
It's a big section. It's a big part of it.
Is it everything that you need?
It's a big part of it. We need to have effective border security. We need a wall in certain parts. No, not in all parts, but in certain parts of a 2,000-mile border, we need a wall.
How much money?
We are doing it much under budget. We're actually way under budget on the areas that we've renovated and areas that we've built. I would say if we got $5 billion, we could do a tremendous chunk of wall.
Mr. President, are you willing to accept less, though, and are your guests...
Well, we're going to see. Look, we have to have the wall. This isn't a question. This is a national emergency. Drugs are pouring into our country. People with tremendous medical difficulty and medical problems are pouring in, and in many cases, it's contagious. They're pouring into our country. We have to have border security. We have to have a wall as part of border security. And I don't think we really disagree so much. I also know that, Nancy's in a situation where it's not easy for her to talk right now, and I understand that, and I fully understand that. We're going to have a good discussion, and we're going to see what happens. But we have to have border security.
Mr. President, please don't characterize the strength that I bring to this meeting as the leader of the House Democrats who just won a big victory.
Elections have consequences, Mr. President.
Let me just say...
That's why the country is doing so well.
What the President is representing in terms of his cards over there are not factual. We have to have an evidence-based conversation about what does work, what money has been spent, and how effective it is. This is about the security of our country. We take an oath to protect and defend. And we don't want to have that mischaracterized by anyone. And
I agree with that. I agree with that.
We are so let us have a conversation where we don't have to contradict in public the statistics that you put forth, but instead can have a conversation about what will really work and what the American people deserve from us at this uncertain time in their lives.
The one thing I think we can agree on is we shouldn't shut down the government over a dispute. And you want to shut it down. You keep talking about it.
The last time, Chuck, you shut it down.
No.
And then you opened it up very quickly. And
20 times.
I don't want to do what you did.
20 times Chuck, you have called for, I will shut down the government if I don't get my wool. None of us have said it.
You want to know something?
You've said it.
Okay, you want to put that on my...
You've said it.
I'll take it.
Okay, good.
You know what I'll say? Yes. If we don't get what we want, one way or the other, whether it's through you, through a military, through anything you want to call, I will shut down the government.
Okay,
absolutely.
fair enough.
And I am proud, and I'll tell you what,
disagree.
I am proud to shut down the government for border security, Chuck, because the people of this country don't want criminals and people that have lots of problems and drugs pouring into our country. So I will take the mantle. I will be the one to shut it down. I'm not going to blame you for it. The last time you shut it down, it didn't work.
It is Wednesday, the 12th of December of 2018, and you are in West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy. I am your chef de cuisine, Justice Putnam, and our daily special is Smothered Benedict Wednesdays. Will no one rid me of this priest? Hey, well, Nancy, oh man, I want Nancy to lead me into battle. My God. She's fairly experienced at it too. So Moulton and all you other guys, I can't even remember what they were called. The Never Pelosi faction. I think you just got pwned. Yes, you did. She wasn't just speaking to Trump and the nation. She was actually speaking to her caucus and the people that are trying to, let's say, topple her. Man. And, wow. I really think that even Trump's sycophants, many of them, not all, of course, but many are starting to wonder, and it's being reported as such, too. They're beginning to wonder that maybe, I don't know, maybe he's not the guy. My own Trump bro has voiced that quite a bit ago, quite a while ago. But, you know, he's still their guy because ultimately, in my brother's bracket, he's doing pretty good. And as I like to say, good for you, good for him. But I don't like to trade my economic security for a fascist state. It's just something that I made a vow. I made a vow as a young man that I wouldn't trade economic security, whatever that is, for living under the iron heel of a fascist state. It just seemed, I don't know, almost American to me. Well, and that was before I understood what being a wage slave was, of course. So there you go. You get a choice, don't you? Oh, man. Well, I want to break down just a little bit about Trump's diatribe there. Because I mention living under the iron heel of a fascist state, not in jest. Because this guy is pulling stuff right out of the Nazi playbook. Down to, you know, these vermin coming over the border with their communicable diseases. When the facts are, they're the most immunized population, you know, coming to America. Because why? They get free health care. Yeah, they're leaving murder and mayhem. But still, I mean, the numbers don't bear out Trump's claim. He says it because it plays to, well, his sycophants. The emphasis on the wall, you know, separating, you know, us and them. there's just so much resonance there that he tipped his hand in many ways, more ways than what we're actually talking about. And another aspect of this whole dynamic is no one is really reporting on Nancy's coat. That should be the battle wear for the winner of anybody going to do battle. And I'm trying to come up with a DJ MC name for her, like Notorious Nancy. We already got the Notorious RGB or RBG. What am I doing? And but we got to come up with something for Nancy. But boy, yeah, David said it was almost Matrix-like, and that would work too. So the only thing that would have made that whole scene, that whole clash between Trump, Pelosi, and Schumer would have been if Nancy had tossed Chuck her purse at the end of it. Oh man, that would have been the cap off. But I got to say, walking out, putting the sunglasses on, she knows what she's doing. And I like it. Or as I like to say, Nancy Zid is vicious, and I like it. Yeah, okay, I'll be here all week. And more, too. Hey, what's on the rest of the menu? Because that was quite a long clip, so we better get into it here. Well, Arkansas proposed cuts to Medicaid funds to assisted living facilities. Yeah, Arkansas. And I should remind you, yes, we are at the Bistro Cafe at West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy as we speak. What's next? Well, the Trump administration spent more than $13 million to hire two border agents. 13 million. And he says he's under budget for building the wall. He was such a liar. And the GOP quest to shrink food stamps is thwarted as a clean farm bill passes the Senate. Yeah, geez. I mean, I know there's so much going on, but did you hear about that? That we might as well chalk that one up as a win for our side. After the break, we then moved to the chef's table, where 4 government sources said there is no evidence to Trump's claim that U.S. authorities caught 10 terrorists at the border. Where does he come up with this stuff? I know where he comes up with it. Yeah, Infowars. Go check it. You'll see. And NASA's OSIRIS-REx spacecraft finds signs of water on that Earth-killer asteroid Bennu. I don't know if we'll be incinerated by fire or drowned. All that and more on West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy. Bon appetit. Homepage at netrootsradio.com, you will notice the chat room link monitored by Kelly Link. And by the way, do check out her shows on Saturdays, beginning with At the Table with Kelly Lincoln, 3 p.m. on the West Coast, 6 p.m. on the East Coast, followed a few hours later when she teams up with Ricky May for the Round Table Roundhouse Power Hour. Got to get that whole thing in. All right. It's the Round Table Roundhouse Power Hour. And that begins at 9 p.m. on the West Coast, midnight on the East Coast. That's when things are just starting to get started. And goes for an hour, for a whole power hour. So check that out. If you would then, since you're at the bottom of our homepage at netrootsradio.com, take a look to the left, you will notice the contribute button. In this season of giving, wow. Someone actually wrote that as ad copy, and it's taken. People still use it. Well, in the season of giving, all kidding aside, if you could become a recurring Patreon of Netroots Radio, your recurring contribution helps us keep the lights on and Resistance Radio resisting. And we are unable to do this without you, so thank you for your contribution. You can follow Netroots Radio on Twitter at Netroots Radio. Thank you, Tom, for taking care of that. We're on Facebook, so if you're there, go ahead, check us out. That's all I'm going to say about that. You know how I feel. You can follow me on Twitter at Justice Putnam, and I'm also known on Daily Kos as Justice Putnam. Fancy that. It is my real name. Was not made up unless you don't count the parents making it up. It wasn't really made up. It's a family name. They would do that. It's my middle name. Should I tell you my first name? You probably already know, but I'm not going to tell you. It's Justice, and it's my real name. So the show notes and links diary, I'm going on. Show notes and links diary are at Daily Kos, and check those out because, the documented evidence is right there. You can also follow the show on Twitter at Cookbook West. I know, Cookbook West. Just put in West Coast Cookbook and it'll show at Cookbook West. Sorry about that. Pick up podcasts of the show by way of Stitcher, Spreaker, TuneIn, iHeart, YouTube, iTunes, and wherever fine podcasts can be found. Okay. Let's get into this first article here out of Think Progress by Elam Katami. Now, Arkansas doesn't have... You would think Arkansas doesn't have a whole lot of money except for federal money. Because we pay them to, be Arkansas. And they're so disrespectful of it, too. How dare they? Well, the Arkansas State Legislature advanced a proposal on Monday, that would slash Medicaid payments to assisted living facilities that provide services to the elderly and individuals with disabilities because who needs them? A move that continues the state's assault on the public health insurance program designed for low-income people. Oh, it's because low-income people voted for a black president so they could get free stuff. They got their black president. He gave them free stuff like, quality of life. Now, everybody of a certain economic station in life knows that quality of life is priceless. And you can't have the lower classes having it because it devalues it for you. Okay? Even if everything's like sparkling clean, by dint of the fact that it isn't, completely white, Laura Ingraham was going off, and so was Ann Coulter going off about what the Democratic Party is going to look like, and they showed this, the bar scene from Star Wars, which I always thought was neat. Yeah, that's cool. Like, universes getting along with each other. Who knew? And so we're staining their pure dream. Okay, so the Department of Health Services proposal would impact nearly 9,000 residents of Arkansas who rely on the Arkansas Choices Medicaid program, which provides home services to seniors over the age of 65 and adults between the ages of 21 and 64 who have a physical disability. According to the Northwest Arkansas Democrat Gazette, the proposal could lead to the shutdown of nearly 100 assisted living facilities in the state that accept Medicaid patients. It could also force people with disabilities to rely on nursing homes, which are more expensive, which seems to me to be the point because they're trying to make sure everything is, if not completely privatized, at least quasi-private. Well, already, 2 assisted living facilities in the state have signaled that they are in danger of closing due to the proposed cuts. The move to cut funding to assisted living centers continues the state's efforts to limit Medicaid growth in order to meet Republican governor, by the way, Asa Hutchinson's stated goal of saving $835 million in program funds over a 5-year period. Wow, it's almost like the Soviet 70-year plan. Fancy that. The proposal also comes on the heels of Arkansas's approval of Medicaid work requirements last spring, which so far has resulted in loss of health coverage for more than 12,000 low-income Arkansans because they're too disabled or old to work. You get that iron lung out on the street and you put on a hot dog suit and get that customer into the hot dog stand. Rebecca Intralgo of Think Progress brings us this next offering here at the Bistro Cafe at West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy, Smothered Benedict Wednesdays. According to a scathing report released by the Inspector General of the Department of Homeland Security, the federal government does not have much to show for its costly effort to increase border security staffing at the U.S.-Mexico border. The report, first released last Thursday, details how the U.S. Customs and Border Protection Agency has essentially mismanaged a multi-million-dollar hiring contract ordered to meet the demands of Donald Trump's crackdown on immigration. Last January, Trump signed an executive order directing DHS to amp up the number of agents on staff. In response, Customs Border Protection granted Accenture Federal Services, which is a subsidiary of Global Accenture Consulting Company headquartered in the tax haven of Dublin, Ireland. Oh, the little people. A $297 million contract to hire 7,500 officers, Border Patrol agents, and Air and Marine Interdiction agents. I thought we had a Coast Guard for that. Oh, well. But according to the Inspector General report, Accenture is nowhere near their hiring goals, and Border Protection risks wasting millions of taxpayer dollars on a hastily approved contract that is not meeting its proposed performance expectations. An audit conducted by the federal government shows it has already paid Accenture $13.5 million as of October 1st, and had only processed 2 job offers. And that was largely by using Custom Border Protection's own services. Now, the CBP has contested the report, arguing that the $13 million was spent on creating a hiring process that helped move thousands of job applications into a pipeline. Well, the Inspector General responded in the original OIG report by noting that neither Customs Border Protection nor Accenture can track applicants recruited by Accenture, and therefore question the veracity of management's assertion. Also of Think Progress brings us this final offering here in the Bistro Cafe of West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy, Smothered Benedict Wednesdays. Will no one rid me of this priest? The Senate approved a new 5-year farm bill on Tuesday that does not impose the additional stricter conditions for food assistance that conservative politicians have sought for years. The vote tees up the second straight defeat for hardliners on the right, who want to make government's meager SNAP program even less generous. That's, of course, the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, SNAP. We used to call them food stamps. The prior Farm Bill fight came much closer to the doomsday scenario, long feared among advocates for the poor and working class, as the House briefly broke the decades-old link between food assistance policy and farm aid policy in the end, though. The outcome was much the same then as it is this winter. A modest bill that largely renews existing policy, because Republicans don't know how to govern. They only know how to gum up the works. In each case, Republicans wanted to change eligibility rules for SNAP, commonly known as food stamps, in order to shrink enrollment over the coming years. The conservative movement typically portrays their policy preference as common sense moderacy, explaining that it's only fair that a food aid program require enrollees to work. But the food stamp program already has work requirements. Republicans just wanted to raise those bars and make it harder or even impossible for state administrators to temporarily waive work rules when economic conditions tighten and jobs are hard to find. Such temporary easing of work rules for able-bodied adults without dependents in food policy wonk parlance, they're known as ABODs. ABODs! I like that. Hey, they're ABODs. Able-bodies? That's in food policy wonk parlance, is likely to face new restrictions even after legislative Republicans caved again on the preferred statutory changes. Ag Secretary Sonny Perdue has promised to use his regulatory authority to constrict the process by which states seek such ABOD waivers in the future. Now, this legislation is a win for the 46 million people across the United States who are served by the Feeding America network, as well as our nation's growers and producers, said Claire Babineau-Fontenot of the National Food Bank Network Feeding America. For the millions of children, seniors, veterans, and families who rely on the program for crucial nutritional assistance, this delivers welcome peace of mind. Well, only to the people who need food. The ones who are trying to keep it from them don't have peace of mind now. Trust me. All right, let's get on to our break. And when we come back, we will go through weather from around the world and finish up with the stories that we've curated for you today. You are listening to West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy, and we will be right back.
You are listening to netrootsradio.com.
Please hang up and try again.
From a point at sea to the circles of your mind, a new force is at work for planetary transformation. New radio for a new Earth.
This is Take Two Movie Review. I'm Mike Friend. This week, the Internet according to Disney. Years before Wreck-It Ralph, Walt Studio ventured into cyberworld musings with the ambitious, abstract, and highly underrated Tron 2. With Ralph Breaks the Internet, the characters from Wreck-It leave the arcade, as they did in Tron after the first few scenes, to discover new worlds and, in this one, new things about each other. The story concerns Ralph and Vanellope, voiced again by John C. Reilly and Sarah Silverman, respectively. If you didn't see the first, the two are video game characters, Vanellope's being from an obsolete, if charming, arcade racing game. When her pal Ralph is mostly responsible for breaking it, they decide to explore the new-to-them Internet, specifically eBay, to find the part to fix it. Being electronic entities themselves, they are actually in the Internet, and the movie's mostly a romp through it, with the challenges and opportunities like search engines, pop-ups, and online gaming being experienced by the characters in the first person. Vanellope falls head over heels for a Grand Theft Auto-like game called Slaughter Race, which comes with a cast of characters, including the cooler-than-cool Shank, voiced by Gal Gadot. To raise funds for the part they need from eBay, Ralph experiences viral video stardom, but while he's doing everything to save the arcade game for his friend, it's clear that Vanellope's interests are diverging. How Ralph's insecurity over this fact becomes manifest and then interacts with viruses may be one of the cooler creative excursions you've seen on a screen lately. Ralph Breaks the Internet combines a sophisticated look at an interpersonal relationship, a clever takedown of internet culture, and some pretty hilarious inside Disney self-deprecation for a ride you won't want to miss. This has been Take Two Movie Review. I'm Mike Friend. Catch up with us at take2moviereview.com and feed us back on our page on YouTube.
Hello, it's Jamie from My Dad Wrote a Porno. Now, Christmas just wouldn't be Christmas without my dad writing some really terrible erotic literature. And Rocky Flintstone has not disappointed this year, because 2018's Christmas Porno Special is available right now exclusively on Spotify for 2 weeks only to get you in the festive mood. Not only that, but you can listen to all 4 seasons of My Dad Wrote a Porno, as well as thousands of other amazing podcasts, all for your oral pleasure. Just head over to Spotify and start listening now.
This is Scientific American's 60-Second Science. I'm Jason Goldman. Imagine you're an aphid, a tiny insect that sucks plant sap for a living. You're munching away when a cow comes along to munch on the same plant you're on. You feel its warm breath, so you drop to the ground to avoid being eaten and run away. The ground is a scary place for an aphid, but it's better than a cow's mouth. But if you're an especially small young aphid, also known as a nymph, scampering over cracks, stones, and twigs is really difficult. Luckily, young aphids have a solution. They climb aboard the back of a larger aphid that's also making an escape and hitch a ride, cowboy style.
Sometimes there's like a pile of nymphs at the beginning that climb on the adult. Sometimes even 8 or 9 nymphs that all climb on the adult.
University of Haifa entomologist Moshe Gish. Thanks to a series of experiments, Gish learned that the nymphs actively seek out adults after dropping to the ground. It's not that they just try to climb onto any old thing they find nearby. For the adults, the nymphs are a bit of a nuisance.
There is some disadvantage for the adult. It slows it down.
The grown-ups try to toss off their riders like a mechanical bull at a college bar. And they'll toss off a relative just the same as they will an unrelated nymph. But somehow evolution has allowed this piggyback riding behavior to persist.
Probably the cost that the adult pays for that delay is not high enough to balance the benefit that the colony gets from saving a few nymphs.
In other words, the advantage to the younger bugs outweighs the cost imposed on the older ones. The entire colony benefits. The results are in the journal Frontiers in Zoology. Aphids are some of agriculture's most important pests, but to Gish they are also a part of a fascinating, important ecosystem.
Most people, they think of aphids as, if we think of aphids, they think of aphids as tiny dots on their plants that kill off their plants, but it's a whole world there. All the interactions with the host plant, and there's a chemical warfare between aphids and their host plants. It's a co-evolution, and it's an arms race. So there's a lot of action going on between the aphids and the plants, and the aphids and their predators, and the aphids and the elements. It's a whole world.
Thanks for listening. For Scientific American's 60-Second Science, I'm Jason Goldman.
It's Tom. Could we humbly suggest your donation to netrootsradio.com? All we've got to run this 24-hour powerhouse of progressive resistance radio is what comes out of our own wallets. And you are our biggest donor. And it doesn't take much, $3, $5. Just go to the bottom of our netrootsradio.com page and hit our secure donate button. Heck, you can even make a recurring contribution. And you'll get a wondiferous pair of Netroots radio stickers for application to your backpack, your bumper sticker, or your banjo. Well, it's up to you which backpack you want to put it on. So donate what you'd like at the bottom of our netrootsradio.com's homepage. Because you are our biggest donor. Netrootsradio.com. Together, we are Resistance Radio.
This is Solidarity News on Radio Labour.
This is a Radio Labour report recorded on Wednesday, December 12th, 2018. I'm Mark Boulanger.
No, my piki, my enga iwi e, ngā reo ngā mana, tēnā rā koutou katoa.
That is Lorez Park, an Indigenous leader from New Zealand. She spoke to the delegates attending the 2018 Congress of the International Trade Union Confederation. The ITUC is the body which represents national union centers such as the Ghana Trades Union Congress.
Ko mata whaora te maunga, ko ohau te awa, ko Ngāti Piki ao te iwi. Mata whaora is my mountain, ohau is my river, Ngāti Piki ao are my people. My mountain greets your mountain, my river greets your river. And my people, through me, greet you. Ngā mihi mai oha, kia koutou katoa. Just transition is a framework practiced by Indigenous peoples and co-opted by the trade union movement to encompass protecting and supporting the interests of the working people in the transition to a new carbon future. A future that includes new technologies, globalisation and democratic shifts that will impact on all our lives. A just transition process needs to be fair, equitable and inclusive, which means careful planning with communities, regions and sectors. Working people in unions understand that the effects of climate change will not be evenly felt, but will impact most harshly on poor and vulnerable populations, which includes Indigenous and First Nations people of the world. One of the first acts of the New Zealand Labour Coalition government was to stop the allocation of licences for gas and oil exploration. And yes, for 5 minutes we celebrated. But now comes the hard part, when we must systematically transition from coal and gas to electricity and low carbon emissions. E2, the Union for Oil and Gas Workers, Taranaki tribal groups and the government working together believe that this process could be a blueprint for the future and the changes across other industries. Unions also agreed with the government on the need for a climate commission as a core agency with a mandate to lead a low-carbon transformation in the public sector, as well as driving an integrated approach to meet international commitments. In October of this year, the New Zealand Council of Trade Unions, with the support of the Just Transition Centre, held a Just Transition Roundtable in New Zealand. Our ministers for climate change, for workplace relations and safety, and the Minister for Energy and Resources met with unionists, environmentalists, employers and Indigenous people to begin the Just Transition discussion. For the Indigenous people of New Zealand, as with our Pacific brothers and sisters, moving off our land to higher ground or even moving to other islands of the Pacific is a fact that must be faced. Māori tribal groups must consider the possibilities of moving their ancestral meeting houses from coastal areas to the hill country, which can happen quite easily if the land in question belongs to your people. But what happens if it doesn't? The loss of an ancestral home will mean a loss of land and connections to Mother Earth. But to also exclude Indigenous and First Nations people from the just transition process will be a loss of mana and dignity. Remember, Mata Whaora is my mountain, Ohau is my river, and Ngāti Piki ao are my people. And like all Indigenous people, we must be heard. Tēnā koutou katoa.
And that's it. International labor news you can use. Thank you for listening. And remember, it's all about global solidarity.
From UN headquarters in New York, I'm Luke Vargas with your World in 2 minutes. 164 countries signed a non-binding global compact on migration this week, enshrining some commonly accepted policies about how to handle migration that are likely to come in handy as ever greater numbers of people leave their home countries behind in search of a better life.
What we ultimately got out of the text was really a floor, not a ceiling.
Alice Thomas is a program manager for Refugees International.
It's the first time that you have in one document a 360-degree view of migration and a set of best practices for states working collaboratively to achieve safer, regular, orderly migration.
Some of the compact's 23 goals include ending migration detention unless as a last resort, eliminating discrimination against migrants, and stopping the allocation of public funding to media outlets that systematically promote intolerance. While the compact is non-binding, the U.S. boycotted it anyway, and perhaps that's no surprise. The U.S. has been widely criticized for detaining migrants, and President Trump has repeatedly turned public sentiment against them, even peddling the debunked theory that migrants pose health risks to the United States. Non-binding or not, Thomas hopes one of the compact's goals, to collect more data on migration, will ultimately help countries with good migration policy to stand out from the pack.
To say that best practices are going to drive you to do something that's going to call you out in some fashion, well, yeah, maybe it's going to mean that you're not following the best practices for migration. But the whole idea is that the international community needs to work together to try to deal with this phenomenon.
That cooperation is urgently needed. According to the UN, the number of international migrants has increased from 100 million people some 30 years ago to more than 250 million now, and that trend shows no signs of stopping. Luke Vargas, The United Nations.
Thank you for accompanying us here to the chef's table at West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy. Smothered Benedict Wednesdays, and really have no fear. It's just a very elegant egg dish with a lovely, creamy hollandaise sauce. Not too much, even though I say it's smothered. I didn't say choked, okay? I didn't say buried. It's smothered. We always begin weather from around the world along the banks of the Rogue River. In the Rogue River Valley of southern Oregon on the west coast of the continental United States of America, where it is currently 38 degrees Fahrenheit. We are expected to be nearly the same as yesterday, so it looks like we'll be about 47, 48 today. And we'll have an overnight low in the mid-30s. Winds are currently negligible, light and variable out of the northwest. Looks like they will remain out of the northwest until early tomorrow morning, when they will then shift out of the east-southeast at 5 to 10 miles per hour. We had some rain, light rain to rain overnight. It looks like we'll have a drying out period for today and tomorrow. And then Friday, looks like we are looking at about a quarter of an inch of rain. Maybe a smattering on Saturday off and on, and then beginning on Sunday through the whole week, looks like we'll be getting mostly about a half an inch to an inch of rain each day. Now that's something to be expected. We'll see how that one turns out. Pollen is rated by the Weather Underground as none. Well, good for them. The air quality index is in the good range, which is green, by the way, at 34 parts per million, a little high in that good range. Though the daytime UV index is green in the low range at 1. I don't think it's ever going to get to 0. Barometric pressure is at 30.63 inches and rising. What the hell? Visibility is 6 miles, and relative humidity is at 91%. Weather from around the world is brought to you by people's personal weather stations that they purchase. These people planted these purchased personal weather stations somewhere on their property, and these people positively live around the world. Okay, London is 43 and sunny. Paris is 41 and sunny. Rome is 48 and partly cloudy. Kiev is 31 degrees and with a light snow. Oh, nice. Kabul is 29 and clear. Hong Kong is 53 and partly cloudy. Tokyo is 45 and partly cloudy. Sydney, Australia is 71 and mostly cloudy. San Francisco, California is 52 degrees and partly cloudy. And New York, New York is 38 degrees Fahrenheit and mostly cloudy. And that is weather from around the world, brought to you by people's personal weather stations that they purchased. These people planted these purchased personal weather stations somewhere on their property. And these people positively live around the world. Mark Hosenball and Jonathan Landay of Reuters brings us this next amuse-bouche because, really, weather is the first amuse-bouche here at the Chef's Table at West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy. And today being Smothered Benedict Wednesdays at that. Donald Trump said on Tuesday, which was yesterday, that U.S. authorities had caught 10 terrorists, citing it as a reason for why the United States should build a wall on its Mexican border. But 4 government sources said there was no recent evidence of terrorism suspects being caught along the border. Well, recent? What does that mean? I should add also, that was one of the things he threw out in his tete-a-tete with Nancy and Chuck. That's what he calls him. He calls McConnell, Leader McConnell. Pelosi and Schumer are Nancy and Chuck. A senior U.S. counterterrorism official said, "We do not have evidence of known or suspected foreign terrorist organizations trying to infiltrate the southern U.S. border." And they wanted to remain anonymous because, obviously, of the sensitivity of the issue, meaning, well, they could end up without a job for telling people like it is. You don't do that in the Trump administration. His idea of transparency is that you can't see a thing. 3 national security officials agreed with that view, saying that they knew of no border-related arrests, and they also asked not to be identified. In a contentious White House meeting on yesterday, Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer and Trump said that he demanded $5 billion in taxpayer funding for his wall, threatening a federal shutdown if he did not get the money. As referenced at the top of our show in the beginning clip there, I loved how he said, people are pouring into the country, including terrorists. We have terrorists. We caught 10 terrorists over the last very short period of time. These are very serious people. Our border agents, all of our law enforcement has been incredible with what they've done. We need them all. Nancy said it's about his manhood. Yeah. The wall is his manhood. Or as Colbert said, no wonder he's having such a hard time getting it erected. Trump did not say when or where the terrorists were caught, and of course the White House did not immediately respond to a request for comment about his remarks because look, this guy just says anything comes off the top of his head. Get a clue. One national security source said U.S. authorities had in recent years captured one terrorism suspect trying to cross into the United States over a land border. And, of course, Trump is also on Twitter this morning going off about the shooting in the Strasbourg Christmas market and the French Alsatian region, right there along the German border, Strasbourg. And he's citing that as a reason why we need a border wall to keep these terrorists out. One thing he failed to mention is that the shooter, yes, indeed, was born in Strasbourg. So I don't know how a border wall fits, but, he just loves him, that border wall. Now, of course, Democrats have proposed a $1.3 billion spending on general border security as part of a package that they must pass by the 21st of this month to avert a partial shutdown of the federal government. But we heard Trump whining. You believe what I said. I want it now. Yeah. He's now understanding what it is to run up against a wall. And I think it's called Pelosi.
Je te donne ce mon amour pour la vie entière. La promesse de me trouver à tes genoux. Aussitôt que tu m'appelles, rester toujours fidèle. C'est tout, c'est tout. Je te donne tous mes printemps, mes étés de mer, mes automnes quand les feuilles tombent partout. Si ce n'est pas une bonne affaire, je te donne tous mes hivers, c'est tout.
And this final amuse-bouche here at the chef's table at West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy comes by way of Reuters. NASA's OSIRIS-REx spacecraft has discovered ingredients for water on a relatively nearby skyscraper-sized asteroid, a rocky acorn object that may hold clues to the origins of life on Earth. Now, of course, we reported when OSIRIS-REx initially flew to within 12 miles of the asteroid, and last week. And the name of that asteroid is Bennu. It is some 1.4 million miles from Earth. Found traces of hydrogen and oxygen molecules, part of the recipe for water, and thus the potential for life embedded in the asteroid's rocky surface. How nice. But of course, as we reported, scientists say that it is on a perilous journey to, slam into our planet. The probe, on a mission to return samples from the asteroid to Earth for study, was launched in 2016. Bennu, roughly a third of a mile wide, orbits the Sun at roughly the same distance as Earth. There is concern among scientists about the possibility of Bennu impacting Earth late in the 22nd century, or earlier, if for some reason it just gets pulled ever so closer and closer and closer to us. We have found water-rich minerals from the early solar system, which is exactly the kind of sample we were going out there to find and ultimately bring back to Earth, planetary scientist Dante Loretta from the University of Arizona said. Asteroids, of course, as we know, are leftover debris from the solar system's formation. Scientists believe asteroids and comets crashing into early Earth may have delivered organic compounds and water that seeded the planet for life. Well, if this one has a bunch of water and life on it, maybe it'll seed it when we're all gone. Could be. Well, the OSIRIS-REx will pass later this month to just 1.25 miles from Bennu, entering the asteroid's gravitational pull and analyzing its terrain. From there, the spacecraft will begin to gradually tighten its orbit around the asteroid, spiraling to within just 6 feet of its surface so its robot arm can snatch a sample of Bennu by July of 2020. Then it's going to fly back to Earth, jettisoning a capsule bearing the asteroid specimen for a parachute descent in the Utah desert in September of 2023. Gee, I wonder if a tight spiral orbit might just ever so gently nudge it away or to us. I guess we're going to find out, won't we? Okay, that brings us to the end of our broadcast period for the day. But you know that Netroots Radio broadcasts on. We'll meet up tomorrow for Metro Shrimp and Grits Thursdays, so do stay tuned to Netroots Radio all day and all night for all the breaking news as it breaks, and we'll meet up here tomorrow in West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy. Bon appetit.
Je voudrais du soleil vert, des dentelles et des théâtres, des photos de bord de mer, dans mon jardin d'hiver. Je voudrais de la lumière, comme en Nouvelle-Angleterre. Je veux changer d'atmosphère, dans mon jardin d'hiver. Robe à fleurs, sous la pluie de novembre, tes mains qui courent, je n'en peux plus de t'attendre. Les années passent, qu'il est loin, là je tombe. Nul ne peut nous entendre. Je voudrais du Fred Astaire, revoir un latte Goël. Je voudrais toujours te plaire, dans mon jardin d'hiver. Je veux déjeuner par terre, comme au long de golfe clair. T'embrasser les yeux ouverts, dans mon jardin d'hiver. Pluie de novembre, tes mains qui courent, je n'en peux plus de t'attendre. Les années passent, il est loin, là je tombe. Nul ne peut nous entendre. Ba-da-da-dum-di-da-dum. 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 Dans mon jardin d'hiver. Ba-da-da-dum-di-da-dum. 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 Dans mon jardin d'hiver. Dans mon jardin d'hiver. Dans mon jardin d'hiver.